Today we're going over the top 10 abandoned places in Kentucky. There are hundreds, if not thousands, of abandoned places in Kentucky, so make sure you like if you want to see a part 2. Today the list is going to start off easy, and the spots are going to get cooler and cooler as the list goes on. I must say this for legal reasons, but I do not recommend going to any of these places. Trespassing is illegal, and you can be punished to the full extent of the law. With that being said, the first spot on our list is Young's High Bridge in Lawrenceburg. Young's High Bridge is a former railroad bridge that spans the Kentucky River between Anderson County and Woodford County for the Louisville Southern Railroad. The bridge, named in honor of William Bennett Henderson Young, was constructed in 1889. The bridge is 1,659 feet in length, 283 feet above the river, and includes a 550-foot one-long cantilever span. The bridge formerly carried traffic on the Lexington to Lawrenceburg division of the Southern Railway. The last train to cross the bridge was in November 1985, after which the line was abandoned by the Norfolk Southern Railway. Merchants Ice Tower in Louisville. In Louisville, Kentucky's Smoketown neighborhood sits the historic building known best as Merchants Ice Tower. The tower was originally built in 1881 as the Schaefer-Meyer Brewing Company. Beer production reached over 50,000 barrels per year in 1901. With a capacity of over 2 million square feet, the brewery was the largest in the southern region of the United States. Schaefer-Meyer was later sold to the Fair Brewing Company, but the brewing operation did not survive the Prohibition in 1919. To adapt to the changing times, the business changed to cold storage and ice production in 1920. In time, the structure found itself under the new ownership and management of Merchants Ice and Cold Storage Company. It is unknown when exactly Merchants Ice and Cold Storage went out of business in the tower, but records obtained indicated that the building was being maintained all the way through 1981. William Tarr House in Paris. A.J. Hitt, an operator of a flour and grist mill in Millersburg from 1865 to 1866, constructed an elaborate federal-style residence south of the city. It featured fine Flemish bond brickwork and extensive wood paneling. In 1877, William Tarr, a farmer, distiller, and an astute businessman, purchased the Hitt residence and renovated it to incorporate Italianate styling. The William Tarr House was occupied until 1985, but now sits left to rot. Beech Grove School in Beech Grove. So I put a lot of time trying to find the history of this place. I could not find too much at all besides this. The Beech Grove School is a 3-story concrete building in a small rural town. It seems to have been closed for 30 plus years, and most of the rooms are full of random junk. I think this school is so far out in the middle of nowhere that maybe not too many people even know about it. Newport Post Office in Newport. The post office was dedicated in 1901, replacing a wood frame structure. The post office relocated to another location in 1969, and the building was renovated to serve as the Newport Independent School District's administrative offices. The renovation entailed the addition of a floor in between the first and second levels and covering over the windows with concrete. The school district relocated its administrative offices in 2014. The building was then acquired by Gene Martin for $250,000. Martin planned on rehabilitating the building into the Washington Grand, a ballroom dance studio and reception hall on a restored first floor, and a private residence on the second floor. Ghost Ship in Petersburg. Off of Lawrenceburg Ferry Road in 1987, the ship that is now a favorite destination for kayakers was once an award-winning Navy ship that served proudly during both World Wars. It served as a backdrop in a Madonna video, shuttled Thomas Edison about while he conducted war experiments, and attended Ronald Reagan's relighting of the Statue of Liberty's torch. Launched in 1902, the ship was originally intended as a luxury ride for a railroad mogul. At 186 feet, basically a yacht, the steam-powered ship was a toy for the rich. The Sachem became the USS Saturn when the war erupted and the Navy acquired the small, speedy vessel to combat the German U-boats and countless submarines wreaking havoc on British-American supply lines. Manned with machine guns and depth charges, the USS Saturn became a secret weapon. But it wasn't quite enough to keep the enemy at bay, so they turned to a great mind at the time for new innovative answers. That is when the USS Saturn became the place that Thomas Edison worked his magic. Edison used the ship as a place to conduct his experiments on creative ways to destroy the sub-threats. Unfortunately, Edison found the military stifling, and after a difficult relationship, lost its funding in 1918. The war ended, and the Navy returned the ship to its civilian owner. The ship's next life was a fishing vessel in New York, but that quiet, recreational incarnation didn't last long, as the Saturn once again was called into duty. This time, the Japanese had done the unthinkable and attacked the US on home soil when a successful surprise attack on Pearl Harbor thrust the US headfirst into World War II. With new, shiny armaments, sonar equipment, and a fancy new name, the USS Phenikite was once again rented by the Navy to guard the home front from the dastardly U-boats. The vessel was once again returned after the war ended, never to be used in battle again. After serving in 2 wars, the ship was once again the Saturn. The Saturn became a recreational vessel once again, starting its career here as a cruise ship under the name of Sightseer, and eventually ending it at its final identity. The cruise line eventually petered out. Madonna's pop music video was the final adventure for the torn down vessel, and after being navigated down the Mississippi by Miller and his crew, the ship was anchored on a small tributary of the Ohio River on Miller's property, never to sail again. Waverly Hills Sanatorium in Louisville. Waverly Hills Tuberculosis Hospital was constructed between 1908 and 1910, when it opened in a wood-framed two-story building designed for 40 to 50 patients. By the early 1910s, with the spread of tuberculosis approaching epidemic proportions, the need for a larger, more permanent building was warranted. Waverly Hills was already grossly overcrowded with 140 patients. Construction of a new 180,000 square foot, four-story facility began in March 1924. It opened in 1926 and featured separate patient rooms, sunrooms, modern laboratories, and recreational spaces with room for up to 400 patients. Tuberculosis by 1938 was the leading cause of death in Kentucky, and the state had the highest death rate in the nation, partly because of lack of facilities, a lack of consistent statewide funding for treatment, and a lack of long-term care options. On average, 2,000 people died from the disease each year. Waverly Hills in 1950 had 373 patients, but had dropped to 293 patients by 1960. Waverly Hills in 1950 had 373 patients, but had dropped to 293 patients by 1960. In 1962, when Waverly Hills Tuberculosis Hospital closed as a tuberculosis hospital, the remaining patients were transferred to Hazelwood. Callahans Concrete Houseboat in Haverhill. Bob Callahans Concrete Houseboat was constructed in Greenup, Kentucky in 1974, and subsequently launched into the Ohio River. It was later abandoned after floodwaters pushed it onto a bank where it remains today. In 1974, at the age of 54, Bob Callahans set forth to build his 7th houseboat along the banks of the Ohio River. While others had built circular houseboats and smaller concrete boats in the past, no one had attempted to build a concrete reinforced houseboat. After 4 years of construction, the Laura 7, named after Bob's wife, Laura Avnell, was ready for launch into the Ohio River. As there was no easy way to move the heavy 14-ton boat across the Callahans' property to reach the river, railroad tracks were laid and attempts were made to push the 33-foot houseboat along the tracks into the water. Then they tried towing the houseboat to the river, to no avail. It took a bulldozer to pull the mammoth boat down to the water. Features on the boat included a kitchen and a bathroom, air conditioning and heating, and a gangplank that doubled as a diving board. The Laura 7 was eventually sold to the operator of Captain's Cove Marina in Haverhill, Ohio, and used to ferry around tourists for a duration of the marina. The boat was unfortunately left high and dry on a small hill near the dock during the Ohio River flood in 1997, where it remains today. Fort Knox Tank Graveyard in Fort Knox. So I could not find a single bit of information on this place. However, the government is known for scrapping old and retired vehicles, which is most likely what occurred in this situation. As you can see, there is a massive field full of abandoned tanks that are just being left to rot. Hazelwood Hospital in Maysville. The Wilson Infirmary, operated by May Peel Wilson from the early 1800s to 1908, was Maysville's first hospital. It closed shortly after Wilson's death in 1908, and the structure was later razed. Construction began on its replacement, the Hazelwood Seminary, in 1915. The Cincinnati, Ohio architectural firm Samuel Hannaford & Son was hired in August 1922 to draw up plans for a $45,000 addition to the Hazelwood Seminary. Upon completion of the addition in 1923, the facility was renamed Hazelwood Hospital. The building was expanded in 1925 and in 1971 to accommodate 87 patients. The landlocked and geographically challenged hospital closed in 1983 after Meadowview Regional Medical Center opened on the outskirts of the city. So guys, those are the top 10 abandoned places in Kentucky. Make sure you like and subscribe if you want to see a part 2. But anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. Like and subscribe for more. Peace.